Desperate billionaire searching for the single mom who saved him. What happens will shock you. In the heart of the city, an ebony skyline loomed ominously, and the neon lights flickered like pulses of a dying heart. A figure stood at the edge of a rooftop, the wind whipping at his designer suit. This was no ordinary man. He was not just any billionaire, he was Marcus Hale, a titan of industry, brought low by misfortune. Just days ago he had everything: wealth, power, the world at his feet. But one careless mistake left him teetering on the brink of oblivion. A shell of his former self. His mind raced. Who could save him? For it had been a mere encounter, a fleeting moment with a single mom named Jenna. Who didn't he know he existed? Until now. Jenna was a puzzle, like an iridescent jewel hidden amongst the rubble of everyday life. She worked 2 jobs just to keep her son in school and herself afloat. Her laughter lit up a room. Her resilience turned heads. But her life was more complicated than anyone realized. When a chance meeting with Marcus ignited an unexpected spark, she unknowingly drew the attention of someone who had the power to change her destiny. But as whispers of danger began to ripple through the shadows of her life, it became clear a storm was brewing, and Jenna was at the eye of it. With each passing hour, the tension grew, wrapping around Marcus like a snake coiling tighter. The news reported strange occurrences linked to his empire. Sabotage deals, late-night threats, and now Jenna's image appearing everywhere. She was becoming a symbol of something bigger: hope? Or perhaps a target? People whispered in hushed tones, their faces lined with concern. "Have you seen her?" they asked, eyes glancing nervously over their shoulders. What would he want with a single mom like her? Even the air felt different, heavy with unsaid words and trepidation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Marcus paced his penthouse, agitated. The clock ticked menacingly as he stared out at the shimmering city below, waiting. Who was this woman who had managed to penetrate his lucrative world? The thoughts tangled in his mind like smoke, before settling on a gnawing question. What if Jenna wasn't who she seemed? There was an allure to her that both frightened and fascinated him. It was more than just a connection, it felt like fate. As he stood there, something extraordinary surged through him, an insatiable need to find her, to protect her. But in doing so, was he also putting her in danger? The phone buzzed with urgency, pulling him from his thoughts. But it was a message he dreaded. If you want her safe, you need to leave her alone. Just 3 words, and fear wrapped around his heart like a vice. A dark figure lurked in the shadows of Jenna's life, and he needed to act fast. What would he do next? Marcus slammed the phone down, the weight of fear pressing heavily on his chest. Every moment he wasted left Jenna more vulnerable. He couldn't just walk away, his instincts roared for action. He had to find her, but how? She was a mystery wrapped in a whirlwind, and with every second that ticked by, the danger grew sharper. As he moved through his penthouse, his thoughts spiraled. Jenna was at the center of something beyond both their understandings, something sinister. He could almost hear the whispers echoing around him, sighs of caution turning into screams of warning. What was their game? He wondered. The shadows held secrets, and he couldn't let them swallow her whole. The streets pulsed with life as he descended from his elevated sanctuary. He wasn't sure where to start, but he found himself retracing steps, past the coffee shop where their paths had first crossed. The barista, who wore a friendly smile, furrowed her brow when she saw him approach. Hey, aren't you Marcus Hale? She hesitated, mind racing. You were here with that lady. Jenna? Where is she? His voice came out sharper than intended, her eyes widened. I don't know. She hasn't been around lately. I thought she got busy with work. Busy with work or running from danger? He felt anger surge through him. He was imbued with a sense of urgency that propelled him forward. He only needed one lead, one clue. As he scanned the surrounding streets, the sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance mockingly. Marcus reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone again. He had to dig deeper. He fired off a message to his most trusted private investigator, a man named Grant who thrived in the shadows. Just moments later, a single response lit up the screen, focusing on Jenna. Got something. His heart raced. Each pulse was a reminder of the stakes. If Grant had found something, it could mean the difference between safety and peril. The few minutes it took for Grant to call felt like an eternity. Marcus, Grant said, his voice a gravelly whisper, I've been checking what I can. There's chatter about her. Someone is interested in her. They seem fixated. Fixated? On what? The knot in Marcus's stomach tightened. There's been a lot of movement at her building. Cars parked out front for hours. I'm worried that you might not be the only one looking for her. Marcus clenched his jaw, every instinct telling him to rush to her side. I'm on my way. Keep an eye out and let me know if anything changes. Closing the call, he took a deep breath. His mind raced. Would he be too late? What kind of person fixated on Jenna? Questions pressed against him like a weight he couldn't shed. The stakes were higher than ever, not just for him, but for her life. As he sprinted toward her place, crowds blurred around him, the world fading into muted colors. He could feel desperation clawing its way to the surface, and yet, somewhere deep down, a surge of hope flickered. He had to find her before it was too late. Turning the corner, Marcus caught sight of Jenna's apartment building. An unnatural stillness surrounded it, too quiet, too charged. His heart raced as he stepped closer, sensing the danger lurking just beneath the surface. But before he could knock, the door swung open and there she was, wide-eyed and terrified. The air crackled with unspoken words, her expression a heady mix of fear and relief. He opened his mouth to speak, but the reality of the moment hung heavy in the air. The chase had begun, but the next question loomed. What was waiting behind her door? The shadows around them shifted once more, revealing a truth that might be even darker than they had imagined. The moment hung suspended in air. Jenna stood there, trembling, just beyond the threshold of her apartment. The flickering lights inside cast haunting shadows, wrapping around her like fingers of despair. Marcus couldn't ignore the urgency in her eyes. They told a story of fear that words could never capture. Jenna, he started, but the weight of her gaze silenced him. What did she know? What had she seen? The atmosphere buzzed with tension, the world outside forgotten. Her breath came in short gasps. They don't know I'm here, Marcus. I don't know how long I can stay hidden. What do you mean? Panic surged within him. He stepped inside, urgency pulling him forward. Who are you hiding from? They took something from me, she whispered, the sharpness of her voice slicing through the silence. Something important. They want it back. And they think I can lead them to it. Lead them to what? He could feel the cold tendrils of fear creeping up his spine as he scanned the dim living room. An overturned chair, a blanket crumpled on the couch. Something had happened here, and it had rattled her to the core. Her eyes darted toward the window, then back to him, a battle raging within her. If I tell you, you'll be in danger too. You don't understand what's at stake. Marcus stepped forward, his heart racing. I can handle it. Just tell me what we're up against. We need to figure this out together. But before she could respond, muted voices echoed outside, sending a chill through Marcus. Panic twisted her features. Marcus, they're here. They found me. Her voice cracked, panic flooding her dark eyes. The shadows outside loomed closer, dark figures moving with purpose. Without thinking, Marcus grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the apartment. The smothering walls closed in as he led her toward the kitchen, adrenaline coursing through him. We need to hide now. They crouched behind the island, hearts pounding like war drums, listening to the footsteps echoing louder. The voices were crude, angry, and the menace in their words combined with the tension around them sent Marcus's blood racing. Stay quiet, he hissed. Just trust me. He could feel Jenna's trembling. It was contagious, stirring his own fear and turning his insides into ice. Peering around the corner, he caught a glimpse of a man standing under the flickering streetlight outside. Tall, with a hard face shadowed by a cap. I know she's in there. Break the door down. The snarl in his voice felt like sharp glass. Just then, a crashing sound jolted them. They started to kick the door. Jenna's grip tightened around Marcus's wrist, all color draining from her face. The sound of splintering would echoed in the tension-filled air. Get ready to run, he said, heart hammering against his ribs. Just as the door began to buckle, he noticed an alternative exit at the back of the kitchen. Now, he whispered fiercely, pulling Jenna toward the door, desperately hoping it led to freedom as they burst through. Turbulent emotions crashed over him: fear, panic, but also an electric spark of adrenaline. The alley beyond was dark and narrow. This way. We'll head for the fire escape, he directed. His mind racing in the depths of the shadows, they dashed forward, blood pounding, breaths ragged. Behind them, the sound of the door crashing open filled the night air, splinters scattering like shards of glass. Do you have any idea who they are? He gasped, barely able to speak, desperately scanning the dimly lit path as the urgency of their escape consumed him. They're after what I took, Jenna replied breathlessly, her fear palpable, thickening the air. And they won't stop until they get it. No matter who gets hurt. The weight of her words wrapped around him like chains, anchoring him in dread. What had she stumbled into? What had she really taken? Just then, a sharp sound cut through their flight, a gunshot. The echo bounced off the alley walls, and Marcus felt a surge of panic unlike anything he had ever known. Run! He yelled, the sound choked with urgency, but behind them, shadows closed in and a frantic realization pulsed dangerously in Marcus's mind. They were on the brink of the unknown, and nothing would ever be the same again. As they sprinted into the dark embrace of the alley, the real enemy still lurked in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Would they make it out alive? Or was something darker poised to trap them both? The darkness swallowed them whole as they sprinted down the alley, the distant shouts of their pursuers fading in and out like an ominous echo. Buildings loomed tall on either side, and the cold night air stung their lungs as they ran. Marcus didn't dare look back. What mattered was getting away and keeping Jenna safe. Where are we going? She panted, her breath hitching as her legs threatened to buckle beneath her. Just a little further, he urged, pulling her along. There's an entrance that leads to the back streets. We can lose them. Her eyes were wide with a mix of fear and desperation, cutting through the suffocating darkness. They won't give up easily, Marcus. We have to be quick. A sudden crash echoed from behind them, reverberating through the constricted space of the alley. Marcus's heart raced. They were gaining. His body screamed for rest, but the primal need to survive propelled him forward. Turning on a narrow corner, they skidded to a halt. The flickering spotlight of a street lamp revealed a tangle of discarded crates and debris. It was a dead end. They were trapped. Over there. Jenna pointed toward a wrought iron fence that jutted up over the crates. Without waiting for a moment more, Marcus started climbing, his fingers finding purchase before he hoisted Jenna up behind him. They clambered over the top, the metal cold against their skin. On the other side, they landed hard, rolling to absorb the impact. Sharp pain flooded Marcus's wrist as he hit the ground, but adrenaline dulled the ache. He shot Jenna a look, swallowed her terror with his determination. We need to keep moving. As they ducked around another corner, Jenna suddenly froze, her expression changing from fear to sheer horror. Marcus, look. In the foggy light, a figure emerged, one of the men from earlier, positioned just a few yards away, scanning the shadows. He was tall and built like a wall, his face bloodless beneath the streetlight. As he turned, his eyes locked onto them. The smugness in his expression sent a jolt of pure terror rushing through Marcus. Go, he hissed, grabbing Jenna's arm once again. There was no time to waste. They darted down a side street, moving deeper into the heart of the city. Sounds of footsteps echoed behind them, and Marcus felt a wave of hopelessness crash over him. The very weight of Jenna's secret was now pressing down on him like a boulder. What did they take, Jenna? She hesitated, panic flaring in her eyes. It's bigger than you think, she finally said, the urgency in her voice cutting through the rising chaos. It's more than just an object. They get it back. Suddenly, another gunshot rang out, closer this time. Just as they rounded a corner, Marcus collided with a solid chest. Where do you think you're going? Snarled a second man, his bulk blocking their path. In that moment, time slowed. Marcus's heart dropped. A choice had to be made. They had nowhere to run. Back off. Jenna's voice quaked, but the defiance in her 30 seconds of bravery momentarily stunned Marcus. He realized it was not just her fear, But their fate as well. Just before the man could respond, gunfire erupted again, this time in another direction. A shadow passed over them as chaos erupted around them, voices shouting orders, confusion swirling like a tempest. Jenna now. Marcus grabbed her hand, pulling her against him. They sidestepped the chaos, ducking into a narrow alley that veered from the main street. The sudden shift in energy propelled them forward, but nothing could mask the dread clawing at Marcus's insides. They emerged on the other side, only to find themselves in a bustling area filled with people pulsing life against the backdrop of danger. Yet Jenna's expression grew fraught. They're going to keep hunting me until they get what they want. I can't involve you in this. He felt the gravity of her words sink in. You have to tell me, Jenna. We can't run forever. What are we even running from? Just as she opened her mouth, they were interrupted by a sudden cacophony of shouting and sirens. The world spun as chaos approached from every direction. Just then, a familiar face burst through the throng, a friend of Marcus's who looked equally bewildered and terrified. Marcus, you need to come with me now. But before the words could settle, Jenna's expression shifted. It was a look of resignation, acceptance of a truth Marcus was not ready to face. Marcus, wait, and with that, the world around them began to splinter again, leaving him with a single thought that echoed through the turmoil. Was escaping the only solution, or was there a greater danger lurking just beneath the surface? Marcus yanked Jenna away just as people surged past them in a panicked flood. The distant wail of sirens mingled with shattered glass, and he could almost feel the pulse of fear racing through the crowd. We can't stay here, he shouted over the noise, pulling her through the throng, heart hammering in time with each step. What about? Jenna's voice trembled, her eyes darting in every direction. But Marcus didn't let her finish. Someone had targeted them, and every second they lingered could spell disaster. The streets hummed with life, but it all felt like a mask for the chaos lurking just beyond their reach. He spotted a narrow doorway tucked between two towering buildings, a flickering neon sign overhead advertising a dingy bar. In there, he urged, shoving through the door before she had time to protest. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the lingering scent of spilled drinks. Dim light illuminated weary faces, and tension hung heavy like the shadows clinging to the walls. A few patrons looked their way, curiosity mingled with suspicion darting across their expressions. Marcus felt exposed, trapped yet again. Why did you drag me here? Jenna hissed, glancing around nervously. These people could turn us in just as easily. Because it's better than out there. He snapped. Do you want to watch your back for the rest of your life? No, but just trust me. His voice was low but urgent, cutting through the din. For now, let us just lay low. They squeezed into a corner booth, its sticky surface a stark reminder of past fights and spilled drinks. The heart-pounding chaos outside faded to a dull thrum, though the anxiety thrumming in his chest refused to calm. Jenna's face shone with worry, casting shadows onto their darkened corner. Marcus, she said, her voice trembling like the flickering bulb overhead. You don't understand. What I took, they won't stop until they get it back. And they know I have you. What do you mean? His heart raced, each beat echoing the weight of her words, shattering his composure. What did you take? Jenna's lips pressed into a tight line. I can't say yet. Before he could respond, a raucous laughter erupted from a table nearby. A group of well-dressed men flaunted their wealth, oblivious to the danger simmering in the air. One man leaned back in his chair, tipping it precariously as he waved a glass filled with amber liquid. Are you okay? Jenna whispered, straining to see what lay beyond their booth. What if they call them? Just focus, he insisted, grinding his teeth together. We need to think. If they want you, they know how to get to you. We might have to get out of here soon. Just then, a loud crash erupted from the front of the bar, sending a shockwave of panic throughout the room. Marcus's body tensed up, instinct yelling for him to flee. He glanced toward the entrance and his heart sank. A figure stood there, silhouetted against the dim light, eyes scanning the crowd like a predator searching for its prey. Marcus! Jenna breathed, eyes wide with horror. It's him. In an instant the air felt electric with fear, hearts pounding in sync with the drumming chaos inside and outside the bar. We need a way out now, he shouted, adrenaline surging through him. But before he could bolt from the booth, the man stepped inside. his presence pushing the shadows back as a chill swept through the room. Everyone fell silent, eyes darting between him and the newcomers as Marcus clenched his fists. "Time to end this," the man said, voice cold and unwavering. "Whereas Jenna?" With a gasp, she seemed to shrink in on herself, frozen with fear. Marcus grasped her arm, ready to run, but the confrontation felt inevitable. "Do you know what you're up against?" he growled, feeling the weight of the moment, but just as he opened his mouth to answer, the door burst open again, this time bringing in several armed men. They pushed through the stunned crowd, issuing gruff orders as fear painted every face. The bar erupted into chaos once more, forcing Marcus and Jenna to make a choice. Fight or flee, but time slipped away like smoke in the air with one last glance at her. He made his decision. "Jenna, we run now. No more hiding." And in that moment they bolted, shoving past startled patrons as chaos erupted around them. Questions burned in Marcus's mind, and yet all he could think was this truly the end, or just the beginning of their nightmare? Marcus and Jenna dashed through the crammed bar, weaving past tables and startled patrons who gaped at the unfolding chaos. The sounds of yelling and shattering glass receded, replaced with the pounding of feet on the sticky floor, and the frantic beats of their hearts, each pulse a reminder of their precarious situation. "Out the back!" Jenna shouted, pointing toward a dimly lit hallway that seemed to stretch into darkness. Without hesitation, Marcus grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. They plunged into the hallway, its walls closing in around them as the noise of the bar faded to a haunting echo. The corridor twisted and turned, every step an urgent plea to stay ahead of their pursuers. A faint light flickered ahead, leading them toward a door that might offer an escape. As they reached the exit, Marcus hesitated, glancing back. The bar was still in turmoil, chaos reigniting as a scuffle broke out. He had mere seconds. "Go!" he shouted, shoving Jenna through the door into the alley beyond. Cold night air rushed over them like a wave, invigorating and terrifying all at once. But there was no time to breathe. Shadows flickered in the alleyway, and the distant sounds of footsteps echoed ominously. Jenna's grip tightened around his arm, grounding him as they dashed deeper into the alley. He could feel her heart racing, matching the tempo of his own dread. "Do you think they saw us?" she gasped, glancing anxiously behind them. "I don't know," he replied, pushing past a pile of crates, the rough wood jabbing into his side. "But we have to keep moving." As they rounded a corner, they stumbled into a small courtyard, littered with garbage and dimly lit by a single flickering street lamp. It was a dead end. Panic surged as he realized they were trapped. "Think, Marcus, think," he muttered to himself, feeling the weight of Jenna's eyes on him, trust mingled with fear. "There has to be a way out." "Marcus, look." Jenna pointed. A narrow wooden fence marked the courtyard's edge, its boards old and battered. The top jutted out slightly, offering just enough grip for a desperate climb. Without waiting for reservations, Marcus grabbed her around the waist. "Can you jump?" She hesitated, glancing up at the height, her breath quickening. "Just do it," he urged, his voice a whip crack of urgency. "We can't stay here." With a nod, she took a breath and jumped, Marcus hoisting her with all his strength. She scaled the fence and landed on the other side with a soft thud. He could hear her muffled whimper as he climbed up, heart racing, hands gripping the splintered wood. Suddenly, shouts rang through the courtyard. They were gaining on them. The moment his feet hit solid ground, he turned, ready to help Jenna up, but just then Marcus. She screamed, eyes wide with horror. He whipped around, heart sinking. The armed men spilled into the courtyard, faces twisted with determination. They fanned out like wolves, eyes gleaming in the low light as they scanned for their quarry. "Run!" he yelled, instinct overruling rational thought as he took off. "Where?" Jenna cried out, lost in the retreating shadows. "Anywhere," he shouted back, desperately searching for another way. It held him back for a moment, but he couldn't afford hesitation. They raced down the side street, fear propelling them with every step. The silhouettes of their pursuers loomed behind phantoms in the night that were unwilling to let them escape. But in the rush of panic, a thought flickered through Marcus's mind. The thing Jenna took the key to this relentless chase. He needed to know what it was before it was too late. "Jenna!" he yelled as they veered through a labyrinth of alleys. "What did you take? What do they want?" Her face was pale in the dim streetlights, desperation etched on her features. I can't tell you now. Just trust me. That desperation was cutting him deep. He realized trust could be fragile in moments like these, and the weight of uncertainty pressed against his chest a familiar ache. But before he could respond, Jenna stumbled, nearly falling. I can't keep running, Marcus. The alley narrowed, shadows converging as the echoes of their pursuers grew louder. He grabbed her arm, lifting her back to her feet, desperate words spilling from his lips. Just a little further, I promise. As they continued sprinting, the question burned in his mind. Would she ever tell him the truth before it devoured them both? A turning point loomed ahead. Veiled in uncertainty, light flickered like hope. But could it lead them to safety, or would it seal their fate? In the thick of night, reality sharpened like a blade, ready to strike. The alley twisted sharply, shadows dancing in wild abandon as Jenna stumbled again. Marcus caught her just in time, their breath mingling in the chill of panic that hung thick between them. Keep going, Jenna, he urged, voice strained, the footsteps behind them drawing closer, more insistent. Sweat coated his palms, and the icy dread coiled tighter in his stomach. I can't breathe. Please, Marcus, her voice wavered, a plea that sliced through him like a knife. Just a bit further. He pressed, heart racing wildly. But he felt the weight of her body, trembling against his side, and it broke something within him. Maybe it was the shattering trust or the realization that they were both at the edge of exhaustion. Turning sharply, he spotted a narrow doorway at the end of the alley. Stripped of the kind of resolve needed to forge ahead, it caught his eye like a beacon. There. The door. With a surge of renewed energy, they staggered toward it. Marcus slammed his hand against the door, adrenaline fueling him as it rattled open. The darkness inside loomed, thick with silence, but it felt safer than the relentless night outside. Get in. He shoved Jenna through and followed closely, slamming the door behind them. The heavy thud reverberated through the small space, and he pressed his back against it, listening intently. Are they gone? Jenna gasped. Fear etched in her features, and the flickering light from a small window illuminated her face. It was pale, drawn tight with tension. He held his breath, ears straining for the sounds of pursuit. Silence hung heavy in the air, pressing against them like an impending storm. I think so, he finally whispered, though doubt gnawed at him like a hungry beast. The room was cramped, a small storage space, stacked with boxes and faded curtains draping awkwardly from the ceiling. Glimpses of daylight peeked through gaps, offering flickers of hope, but reality loomed just outside their sanctuary. Marcus, Jenna's voice broke through his inspection. We need to talk. About what I took. Right now. The panic in his voice belied an urgency too real. They're out there, Jenna. If they find out we're in here, I know. She interrupted, hands trembling. But if you don't understand what's happening, there's no point in running anymore. For a moment the chaos around them faded, muffled by the weight of her words. What did you take? His voice softened, heart racing differently now, an anxious flutter settling in his throat. A key, she whispered, eyes darting to the darkness beyond. A key to a file that holds everything they want. It's not just about us, they want to control it. Control. The word hung in the air, potent and charged. But still he wrestled with disbelief. What file? What does it contain? Evidence. Her voice trembled slightly, hinting at the gravity of their unfolding nightmare. Evidence of something bigger than us, money laundering, corruption. Everything. Marcus shook his head, grappling with the layers unfolding before him, the weight of truth stacked against their fragile lives. And they'll kill us to get it? More than that. She looked away, pain flashing in her gaze. A fleeting moment he almost missed before determination surged through her body. It could expose people who are much more powerful than we think. Their eyes locked, a reflection of raw fear and understanding. The implications sank deep into Marcus's chest, filling him with dread. So what do? We can't stay here forever. We have to get that file out of their reach, she said resolutely. But first we need to regroup. There's someone who can help. Before she could finish, the door rattled, a hard thud echoing through their hiding place. Panic surged through Marcus, instinct kicking in. They found us. What? How? Jenna's eyes widened in horror. Stay close. He hissed, adrenaline flooding his body as he moved toward the dim light filtering through the window. Outside, the voices grew louder, filled with a determination that sent shivers racing down his spine. "Please, Marcus." Jenna's voice quivered. "You can't leave me. Trust me," he replied, lunging toward a shelf stacked precariously high. It was time to fight for their lives or make the leap into the unknown. Just as he prepared to break the window, a haunting echo rang through the dim corridor, chilling him to the bone. "Jenna," he whispered, eyes wide, as realization dawned like an ugly shadow over them. There was no way out, and whatever chased them down had just caught up. What horrors awaited beyond that door? And would their escape lead to freedom or their demise? The rattling intensified, splintering their resolve like dry twigs beneath heavy boots. Marcus dared a glance back at Jenna. Her face was a mask of terror, the fragile hope they clung to disappearing with each tremor of the door. "Stay quiet," he urged, wishing he felt as calm as he sounded. He edged closer to the window, the splintering wood of the frame crumbling beneath his trembling fingers. Outside, it felt like the whole world was closing in, each second stretching into an eternity. "Marcus," she whispered, a fragile sound filled with fear. "Trust me," he rasped back, desperately hoping that reassurance could heal the chasm of panic building between them. He shoved aside a box to make more room, catching a glimpse of shadows flitting past the doorway. He felt the darkness pressing against him, suffocating, filled with unseen specters lurking. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted, and the door bucked violently, a foot breaking through the wooden frame. "Jenna!" he shouted, leaping back to her side. Her heartbeat was a wild drum, and he covered her mouth with a shaking hand to silence her gasps. "We have to move." "Where?" she breathed, eyes wide with despair. He pointed to an old storage area in the corner, the shadows pooling in thick layers. "There. We'll hide in the stacks. Just follow me." With a sharp inclination of her head, she nodded, bolstered by a burst of adrenaline. They scrambled behind a wall of boxes. Marcus shoved them aside, creating a narrow passage just wide enough for them to fit through. He pushed Jenna in first and squeezed in after her, his heart pounding like a war drum. In the cramped space, the air felt stale, mingling the scent of mildew and dust. He could hear the muffled voices outside, ringing with urgency. "Check the other rooms. They have to be in here." Jenna clutched his arm tightly, nails digging into his skin, a painful anchor in their dire situation. "What do we do now?" "We wait," he murmured, his breath hitching at the thought of being found. "We wait until we know it's safe." The voices grew closer, stabbing through the silence like daggers. They couldn't have gotten far. "There's no way out." Marcus exchanged a glance with Jenna, both of them quietly praying they remained hidden amongst the stacks of forgotten relics. The tension hummed in the air, an electric current that set his nerves ablaze. Suddenly, the sound of boots crunching over shards of glass made his heart skip. A shadow filled the cracks of light spilling from the doorway. He pressed a finger against his lips, signaling Jenna to stay quiet, their eyes wide and filled with shared fear. The irregular sounds of movement filled the room like a creeping dread. "Check every corner," shouted a commanding voice from outside. "They can't have gone far." Jenna's fingers were tight around Marcus's wrist, and he could feel her heartbeat thrumming in sync with his. It was surreal in that unearthly silence, echoing their looming fate. The door creaked open abruptly, and a figure stepped through. In the dim light, Marcus caught a glimpse of a face hard, determined, and far too familiar. "Stay close," the figure called out, sounding dangerously calm. It was Lucas, an old ally turned potentially deadly enemy. Why was he here? Did he come to help, or had he joined those hunting Jenna down? Marcus's mind raced. Was this an unexpected chance to escape, or the worst mistake they could make? Jenna squeezed his hand, her eyes pleading. "What do we do?" The weight of the world pressed down as Lucas's voice rang out again, laced with a deceptive sweetness. "I know you're in here. You can't hide forever." Silence loomed, thick and palpable. As the reality of their situation crashed around them, Marcus knew the next move could decide their fates. Would they reveal themselves to this new danger, or stay hidden and risk losing their only shot at survival? The air crackled with tension, and both Marcus and Jenna held their breath as footsteps approached. What would the next moment bring? And who would rise to face it head-on? Silence enveloped them, the air thick with dread as footsteps echoed closer. Marcus dared to breathe in, only for the taste of fear to choke him. Lucas's voice cut through the stillness, smooth yet cold. I have no time for games. You think hiding will save you? Jenna's grip tightened on Marcus's wrist. Her wide, terrified eyes faced him, searching for assurance. But what could he offer in this overwhelming uncertainty? A million thoughts raced. Each one taunted the fragile thread connecting their survival as Lucas moved deeper into the storeroom. The creaking floorboards declared their presence. You know I can hear your heartbeat, don't you? His tone dropped to a whisper, like he was savoring the fear that oozed from the shadows. Marcus, Jenna whispered again, the tremor in her voice electric with panic. Stay still, he hissed, his heart hammering as if trying to beat its way out of his chest. Sweat trickled down his spine, and the stale air felt suffocating. Did Lucas truly intend to end them? Then came a clattering sound. Lucas knocked over a stack of old boxes right next to them. Bingo! He shouted, his footsteps quickening. I know you're close. I can smell your fear. In that moment, Marcus felt a surge of resolve. They couldn't let Lucas find them. They had to act or be crushed under this monolithic terror. Jenna, get ready, he whispered, his voice firm. We're going to push through him. What? She barely managed, horror knitting her brows. Trust me. It's now or never. They shuffled inch by inch, careful not to breathe too loudly. As Lucas stepped away, presumably searching another corner of the room, Marcus turned slightly, ready. Each beat of his heart thrummed like a war drum, clear in the execution of their plan. Just as they squeezed toward the narrow exit, Lucas's voice called out one last time. You'll regret this. I will find you. Adrenaline surged, and they burst from their hiding place. The world outside loomed expansive, the chaotic sounds of the fate they'd narrowly escaped echoing in their heads. Run! Marcus shouted, propelling Jenna down the corridor. They dashed past glass-strewn floors, dodging shadows that danced in their peripheral vision. Slivers of light slashed across their path, illuminating their desperate faces. But Lucas was fast, not just a friend turned foe, but someone who always knew them too well. He barreled after them, his footsteps a relentless reminder of his pursuit. You can't escape me. The pair spiraled down a dark hallway, heartbeats pounding louder than their footsteps. They skidded around a corner, breathless, stumbling into what appeared to be an old service staircase. Down now, Marcus yelled, shoving Jenna ahead, his instincts screaming to get her to safety. But the staircase was steep, dark, and twisted. A trap that could either save or ensnare them. Marcus, what if Jenna hesitated, glancing back? Trust me. It's our only chance. The desperation in his voice rang true, igniting her determination as they descended. The darkness threatened to swallow them whole. A terrifying thought flared in his mind. What if this led to a dead end? Panic clawed at his throat as he navigated down the stairs, his heart racing. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed above them. Lucas had burst into the room. You think you can hide from me? Their emergency descent became a blur of frantic steps and whispered prayers. They had to get away, but to where? The air grew thicker and Marcus's mind raced. The basement could be a safe haven or it could be a trap. Would they find safety, or was the escape just another illusion? And what awaited them at the bottom of the stairs? Was it freedom or an end? Darkness enveloped them, and he could feel Jenna's hand slip from his. He turned, panic surging like a tidal wave. Jenna! A moment's silence followed, almost too heavy to bear. He strained his ears, desperate for any sign of her. But as shadows closed in around him, the only sound was the echo of Lucas above, drawing closer. Where was Jenna? And what if Lucas had found her? This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about the fight to escape darkness and discovering if they could outsmart the very shadows hunting them. As the darkness deepened, Marcus had to move in fast. But each step into the unknown swirled with uncertainty. They had escaped one trap, but was there another waiting ahead? The air felt electric, charged with adrenaline and uncertainty as Marcus stumbled through the basement. The dim light flickered like desperate hope, illuminating the shadows that whispered of threats lurking just outside their perception. Just moments before, they had escaped the clutches of danger, and now the silence pressed against him, amplifying every sound, every heartbeat. Where was Jenna? Panic twisted his stomach into knots, threatening to choke him. Jenna! He called, voice echoing off concrete walls, swallowing the silence. With every pulse, dread surged within him. The last thing he heard was her soft gasp as they ran, the sound haunting him now. Had Lucas caught her? Thoughts collided in his mind. He couldn't fail her. Not now. Before he could spiral further, a movement caught his eye hidden behind an old rusted machinery. He spotted her, crouched low, her wide eyes filled with fear and courage. Relief cascaded over him, sending his heart racing anew. Thank God, he whispered, rushing toward her. Marcus, we can't stay here. Her voice trembled, every word laced with urgency. He reached for her hand, grasping it fiercely. I know, but we need a plan. If Lucas finds us brushing past fear to think sharply. He scanned the room. The basement stretched before them, dark, expansive, filled with shadows brimming with potential danger. Over there, Jenna pointed to a narrow door at the far side. The faint light spilling from it was their only beacon of hope. That might lead outside. With no time to waste, they sprinted toward the door, footsteps echoing in the stillness. But as they reached it, the sound of heavy boots thudded from above, and the ominous creak of wood reverberated through the basement. Marcus, they're coming. Jenna's voice was sharp, the urgency slicing through the air. No matter what happens, we push this door open and we run. He clenched his jaw, the adrenaline flooding his veins with fierce determination. Each thud from above drummed a warning. They exchanged one last glance. A moment of willing trust, a pact forged in fear and hope. Then with a heave they threw the door open. Light flooded their senses, and they stumbled outside, the cool air crashing around them like a wave of freedom. They emerged into an alley, the shadows now stretching behind them as the world pulsed with life. Keep moving, Marcus urged, pulling Jenna forward. We can blend into the crowd. But as they dashed toward the bustling streets, they froze, swallowed by an overwhelming sight. Lucas stood right there, flanked by his men. A chilling smile crept onto his face, shadowed by chaos behind him. Did you really think you could escape? He sneered, confidence radiating outwards like a dark shield. Jenna's eyes flared with horror, and Marcus felt that familiar surge of fierce determination spark within him. We're not backing down. Before Lucas could respond, Marcus lunged, adrenaline propelling him forward, but Jenna caught his arm. Wait! There's a way. Not now. Marcus shouted, adrenaline flaring hotter than panic. Every instinct yelled to protect her. But as they pressed forward, a blurred figure rushed past them, charging toward Lucas. Get away from them. It was Grant, Marcus's investigator, out of breath but blazing with fury, rushing forward from the side. Behind him, a squad of law enforcement officers charged in, sirens ringing sharp in the night air. Marcus! Jenna! Grant shouted, his voice a cutting clarity slicing through chaos. Marcus, go! Jenna screamed, eyes darting toward the oncoming officers. With every ounce of strength, he grabbed her hand again, propelling them through the crowded street. The chaos erupted. Shouting, confusion, the officers spreading like fire as they cornered Lucas and his men. A tangle of bodies formed, chaos and resolve merging in the night. Let us go, Jenna urged again. Fear etched across her features, but something else glinted: expectation. An unyielded sense of defiance pulsing through her. They surged past, forging their own path through the chaos, hearts pounding together in desperation and hope. Where do we go? Jenna panted, breathless as they pressed forward. In my car. It's parked a few blocks over. He urged, crashing through the crowd, pulling her along as the sirens wailed, cutting through the night as they rushed onward. Reality struck Marcus like a cold wave. The life he once cherished, now a fraying tapestry of uncertainty. The weight of what Jenna had taken loomed larger than it ever had, a looming question heavy in his mind. Jenna, tell me, what is it you have? He gasped, struggling to keep pace. It's a key. A flash drive. It has everything, the evidence of corruption they don't want anyone to see. It implicates powerful people. Her words tumbled out like a confession, each one stinging with urgency. No matter how powerful, they can't silence us forever. He shouted, determination firing him up. They could no longer be pawns in someone else's twisted game. As they finally emerged into the parking garage, with the dull hum of their escape echoing in the background, he pressed the button on his key fob. The familiar beep was a symphony of joy, a glimmering hope amidst the chaos. Get in, he shouted, diving into the driver's seat, hot on the edge of danger. Jenna slipped in beside him, slamming the door shut, as if sealing them against the outside world. As he revved the engine, Marcus glanced toward Jenna. The fear was still there, flickering behind her eyes. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice steadier than it felt. "More than ever," she said, fire igniting across her features. A woman transformed, no longer just a single mom caught up in shades of gray, but a warrior ready to confront whatever awaited them ahead. With a push, they sped out of the parking garage, breaking into the night like lightning, a path forged anew, marking their resolve against all odds. In this moment, reality crystallized. They were bound together in something deeper now, and whatever lay ahead, they faced together head-on. The city loomed around them as they raced to break the pattern that threatened to ensnare them, ready to face not just the danger that pursued them, but a reckoning poised to change everything. With every heartbeat echoing their resolve, they vanished into the night, and for the first time, the shadows didn't seem so dark. They would demand what was rightfully theirs, their fates entwined forever in a story that was just starting to unfold. But this wasn't just a fight for survival. This was the beginning of their own legacy, and together they could take on anything. Now, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any of the exclusive content, including the next exhilarating chapter of their journey. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm that helps us thrive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see the rest of this story. Show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of being part of this incredible community.